Hi visitor, welcome to this short production on the history of the Rottnest Ferries, advertising and tourism on Rottnest Island, 12 kilometres west of Perth, Western Australia. Over the years, Rottnest Island has long attracted the attention of journalists and writers alike. Even in the early years of settlement and tourism, there were lots of paintings and posters advertising the virtues of this island. Today the island is heavily advertised in all the tour booking agencies. My friends and myself decide to catch a ferry from Perth to Rottnest, cruising up the Swan River to the Indian Ocean. We could also have gone from Fremantle, Ferries, or Rouse Head. The last port of call for the Rottnest Express, the ferry on which we're boarded, is Rouse Head, an artificial harbour at the mouth of Fremantle. It's about a 30-minute crossing to Rottnest Island. We're very fortunate that this ferry carries wheelchairs as well as bicycles. I found it interesting that the Rottnest Express has adopted the dolphin as their symbol because it symbolizes warmth, intelligence, speed, and freedom. The ferry comes equipped with a bar and a dance floor. It's often so crowded that many passengers do the trip standing up, but others do it in considerable comfort with large windows and a table. After a quick trip, we approach Rottnest Island and get off onto the crowded jetty. Thompson Bay is the terminus, and it's quite a reasonably sized, lively community with a good range of hotels, bars, and coffee bars, as well as a number of restaurants, stores, and museums. You could spend a whole day just in the community. The people of Western Australia are very fortunate that the government resumed private ownership of the settlers' farms by about 1840 with the establishment of the penal settlement. And there's been no private ownership of land or leases since 1855. The official opening tourist season on Rottnest Island, under the management of the Department of Immigration, Tourism and General Information, occurred in 1911. In 1917, Rottnest was classified as an A-class reserve. Despite the need for the official permit to land on Rottnest Island since 1840, the attraction of the island for people with boats was strong. There's a count of yachtsmen camping on the island from the 1890s onwards. In 1898, the Rottnest prison superintendent wrote to the Undersecretary. The excursionists poke their noses into every place that is not locked and respect no rights of proprietorship. Despite the prison superintendent's objections, the rules were relaxed in 1902 and permission was granted for ferries to bring excursionists to Rottnest Island on Sundays. The popularity of the island has continued to the present because local inhabitants have quickly learned of the astonishing beauty of the island and its range of flora and fauna. Also, it's very well advertised in the media and on the web, as some of these adverts show. There's an astonishing range of fish in the pristine blue waters and coral reefs of the island, and it's a great place to go snorkeling or scuba diving. There's also a great range of bird life attracted to the ocean shores. With the opening of tourism on the island by 1903, a range of shops, tea rooms, bakeries, and restaurants developed on the island and were clearly apparent in photographs by the 1920s. Today there's a good range of tea rooms and coffee shops, including a very nice pub on the island called the Quokka Arms Hotel. The establishment of lighthouses, the first in 1854, the second in 1896, and the growth of tourism led to the growth of ferry services. One of the very early ferries that received great popularity was the Zephyr, built in New South Wales in 1906. It made its first voyage to Rottnest Island in 1907 and became an important part of the Rottnest experience until its final trip in 1952. An interesting feature of the Zephyr was their telescopic funnel, which could be lowered so the ferry could fit under the Fremantle rail bridge. It was sold and dismantled for scrap in 1966. Another early ferry was the Emerald. Built of wood in Queenstown in the late 1800s, it commenced service shortly after the Zephyr. Like the Zephyr, it served as an examination vessel during the Second World War. After the war, it commenced service to Garden Island until it was sold as scrap in 1952. Another very early ferry was the Australian, the vessel originally known as the Manx Ferry, steamed from England to Fremantle in 1896. She made her first Rottnest crossing in 1902, was rebuilt and launched as the Australian in 1905, but left West Australia in 1922. A new era in ferry service began during the 1950s with the introduction of the Islander, a petrol-powered Fermantle launch with a top speed of 20 knots an hour. In the 1960s, the Harbour and Light Department banned passenger vessels from operating on petrol motors. Since that time, diesel engines have been used to power the ferries. Over the next few years, more ferries competed on the Rottnest Island run. The boats got bigger and faster. Memorable ferries from this period include the Terra-Marine II, launched in 1971, which could carry 700 passengers, and the Hydroflight, launched in 1975. Since the 1980s, new ferries have been built with an aluminium hull and designed for high speed. Improved design has increased speeds to approximately 30 knots, allowing the Rottnest crossing to be made in 30 minutes. There's also a small airstrip on Rottnest, and since the 1930s, it's been possible to fly there and land private aircraft. I think it's about $80 for a return flight from Oceanic Airport in Perth. Thanks, visitor, for joining me on this review of the history of ferries.